Hello, welcome. This is 5 Minute Feldy. I'm Feldenkrais teacher Ralph Hadden and speaking to you from Melbourne, Wurundjeri country, and here it's Friday, 8th October 2021. Please lie down on your back, and we're going to be doing some more exploring movement of the pelvis and considering the pelvic floor, the layer of connective tissue and muscle at the base of the pelvis. But first of all, just please lie down, lie on your back, have your knees bent up, feet standing, and do whatever you need to do to be quite comfortable. And quietly pay attention. How are you right now? What do you notice you're experiencing? How do you feel? And now do a little squeeze of the pelvic floor. So that's the idea, thinking of as if you're trying to lift the pelvic floor up into the pelvis, or squeeze it, make it narrower, and release. And do that once or twice. So just to repeat, you're lying on your back, knees bent up, and doing a little squeeze and release of the pelvic floor. Now, when you activate the pelvic floor, does the position of your pelvis move at all? Is there any sort of change of position of the pelvis? So leave that, have a rest. Now do something to roll the pelvis up and down. So you're rolling the pelvis towards your feet, the tailbone dips down a little bit towards the floor, the lower back arches a bit more away from the floor. And vice versa, you roll the pelvis up towards the head, the tailbone lifts a bit away from the floor, the lower back flattens into the floor. And as you do that, do you notice any change in the tone of the pelvic floor? Maybe not, maybe hard to notice. Okay, now pause and try a quick activation and release of the pelvic floor. Squeeze, release, fairly quickly. And try that a few times. If you're not used to this, I think it will be a little tricky to do, but as I mentioned previously, practicing it many times, you'll gradually become more skilled. Okay, leave that go. Now let's try this. This is even more tricky. Could you slowly roll the pelvis up and down, do a slow pelvic rock, and once you've got that established, very slowly do a quick squeeze and release the pelvic floor. Is it possible to keep the steady movement of the pelvis up and down while you're rapidly squeezing and releasing the pelvic floor? Every now and then pause and try again. This is complicated, but it's good mind-body training to attempt this anyway, and to play around with it. Okay, pause. Let's try, see if we can make that a little bit easier to access. But first we'll just rest and pay attention. Okay, now try roll the pelvis up and stay there. Stay with the pelvis rolled up, with the lower back flattened a little bit, the tailbone lift a little bit. Stay with the pelvis rolled up, and in that position, do some rapid squeeze release of the pelvic floor a few times. Then let that go. And then again, roll the pelvis up, hold that position, rapidly squeeze and release the pelvic floor a few times. Okay, and let that go. Now roll the pelvis down so your lower back arches a bit more away from the floor, the tailbone dips down more into the floor. Hold that position, and a few times try again. See if you can do a rapid squeeze release of the pelvic floor. By the way, do you keep breathing? Do you breathe in or out, or steadily breathe? Or hold your breath? Let go and try again. Roll the pelvis down, hold that position. Rapid squeeze release the pelvic floor. Okay, leave that go. Now let's try again with that more complicated coordination. But let's just have fun doing it and make sure you make some mistakes and play around and don't try to do it perfectly. So slowly rolling the pelvis up and down, slow, steady movement. And then when you feel you've got that clearly established and you're just breathing any way you like, breathing easily, start to do a quick squeeze release of the pelvic floor a few times. And then you can let that go, keep the pelvis rolling up and down a few times. And one more time, try introducing a quick squeeze release of the pelvic floor while you steadily roll the pelvis up and down. Okay, that'll do. Have a rest. And now, just simply, without doing anything with let the pelvis be free to do whatever it wants. A few more times, squeeze, release pelvic floor lightly, quickly, and then slow it down, and then see if you could just do a slow, once or twice, squeeze, release, let it go. And now that's enough. Stop and rest and simply pause, pay attention to how do you feel down in the pelvis, down the pelvic floor. How are you breathing? And just gently, how do you feel? And that'll do for today, and that'll do for the week. Got 2 days of the weekend coming up. Hope to see you same time after a couple of days break. In the meantime, please keep moving. Bye.